What is up, boys? And this is a betting recap of the results inside my premium group for UFC 326. And this was another profitable night, finishing off with 0.32 units in the green. And that brings us to 5 events in a row of profit, which is absolutely insane. That's consistency. That's what we do inside premium. And I'll be honest, this was a bad night's betting, and we probably shouldn't have been profitable for this night. But we got a bit lucky in this fight card and we ended up in the green, and it came down to the very last seconds of the card in that fight. But yeah, first I'm going to start off with the losses. Obviously the beast bet of the week took an L. We had Rafael Tobias on the money line, and I didn't feel great about placing this one as the beast bet of the week, but I was really struggling to find spots on this card. The favorites I liked were too low on the odds, and I felt like this was more of a bet against Dio Nogase than a bet on Rafael Tobias, but I thought Tobias was going to be solid enough to beat Nogase in this fight, and ultimately he wasn't solid enough. He was absolutely horrible in that fight. I think everyone can agree that Nogase looked pretty bad in that fight as well. A lot of the stuff I said about him was true. His striking defense didn't look good. He kept poking himself in the eye. He didn't look good in that fight. And Rafael Tobias looked even worse. Tobias just looked absolutely lost there on the feet. The grappling that I thought he had, he barely shot takedowns. And when he shot, they were extremely weak and extremely telegraphed. And Tobias, even with all that considered, he nearly finished him in round 2. He landed a big shot on him. Nogase was hurt. If he maybe let it go with his ground and pound shots, he probably could have got Nogase out of there. But he made a bad decision. He went for the guillotine. He went for a submission, and he ended up losing the position. So overall, in that fight, Nogase looked bad. He looked as bad as I expected, but Tobias looked worse. And that's really what it came down to. And that bet lost pretty badly. That was 1.7 units all up. Then the next fight where I lost majority of my stake was in that Michael Johnson versus Drew Dober fight. I had 1.3 units on Michael Johnson and 0.7 units on the fight to go the distance. I thought Johnson would win this one by decision. I thought he would be too fast for Dober. I thought Dober's been on the decline. Johnson's hand speed will be too much, and he will cruise by and win a decision, landing the cleaner shots on the feet. And for the start of this fight, that's how it was going. Johnson was landing the jabs. He was staying at range. He was faster, keeping his distance, defending well, looking good in this fight. And then Drew Dober just knocks him out with a clean overhand. That's the fight game. And lucky enough, the odds movement before this fight was absolutely ridiculous, as Johnson went from being a favorite just hours before all the way to a plus 180 underdog. I thought this was very suspicious considering Johnson's last fight got called off right on fight day due to a betting scandal. So I thought something similar was going to happen here, and I ended up placing a hedge bet on Drew Dober by KO under 1.5 rounds. And lucky enough for me, that one ended up cashing. Even though I don't think that fight was rigged, it ended up cashing, and it saved me from losing more units on that fight than I could have, so that was very nice. Another couple of losses, we also had that Jared Long on the money line, 0.75 units. That was a very frustrating one, because if Jared Long didn't commit those fouls, he probably does end up getting the victory in that fight. But that is what it is. Also had a few more losses as well. Kai Baralho versus Reina DeRita fight not to go the distance, and Kai Baralho by KO, sprinkled a bit of that. I don't regret it. I thought Reina DeRita's striking looked horrible like I expected it to, but Kai Baralho didn't look good in that fight either. Had some Cody Durden money line bets that didn't hit, and then the rest of the bets that didn't end up hitting were mainly just sprinkle bets that I didn't have too much confidence in, or hedge bets for my other bets. But yeah, took quite a lot of L's on the card, and yeah, those bets weren't very good, to be honest. But now let's get into the wins. We had Sumaderji versus Aguilar fight to go the distance, 1 unit on that, and then half a unit on Sumaderji by decision. Very predictable fight in my opinion. Sumaderji's length was too much, like I said. And to be honest, the only thing I regret is not putting more on it, because I was pretty confident in this hitting. I did put a solid 1.5 units, but yeah, I probably should have put more on this looking back at it, considering the odds were pretty good at $1.74 and $2.25 for Sumaderji to win by decision. I also had some Alberto Montes bets. I had 0.8 units on him on the money line and 0.4 units on the fight not to go the distance. This is another one where I do regret a little bit, because I regret that I didn't put more on it. I thought Montes was the better fighter than Tercios, that the submission would be there, and I regret not putting a bit more stock into Alberto Montes. Though the fact that he was making his UFC debut did make me a little bit hesitant, but I think I probably should have put a bit more faith and belief into Montas because he looked damn good in that fight. We also cashed on Rodolfo Bellato by KO. That was a tiny bet, 0.1 units. But I thought the value was there at $6.50. I didn't think Bellato would win. I thought he was getting knocked out. But again, you bet on the value and it paid off there, and that bet ended up hitting. And then we also had, this was a big one to finish off the night. We had Charles Oliveira fight to go the distance, half a unit on that, plus significant strikes. So we got that at $3.40. And we had 25 significant strikes for each parlay there. I was sweating my ass off at the end of it because I had Max Holloway to land 25 significant strikes. And before that final exchange where Oliveira let him trade in the final 5 seconds, Max Holloway was on 24 significant strikes. I was looking at the numbers and I was just praying that the odds makers would give us the benefit of the doubt. And thank you, Charles, for letting Max strike at the end, because that really paid off. He finished with 26 significant strikes and then that bet cashed. So half a unit on the fight to go the distance plus the significant strikes, that cashed really nicely. And then we had 0.1 units on Charles Oliveira by decision at $13. This was purely a value play, and damn, did it pay off. When I saw those odds, I immediately put the little sprinkle, sent it to the boys in premium because I knew the odds would go down for that, and it did. It closed at about $9 or plus 800. But yeah, I knew there was a chance Charles Oliveira could win by decision. He's done it before. He done it to Michael Chandler. He done it against Tony Ferguson, and I knew it wasn't out of the realm of possibilities. So at those odds, that was a really nice cash, and I was super happy with that one hitting. And even though it was a really bad night betting overall, we still finished with a profit thanks to those final bets, and we finished with 0.32 units in the green, and we've been absolutely crushing it. That's 5 weeks in a row now, and make no mistake about it, we're about to make it 6 weeks in a row this weekend, and I got a feeling this weekend is going to be a much more profitable night than UFC 326 was. So you know what to do if you want to actually start making money on the UFC. You want to get consistent wins every single week like we've been doing. Click that link in the description or in the bio and join, and I'll see you inside. Let's go.